I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, American Patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Tonight, we start off with some sad news. Country music and fans all over the world are mourning the death of Loretta Lynn, who was truly the queen of country music. Born in 1932 in Butcher Hollow, Kentucky, Lynn grew up in a small cabin in a poor Apache coal mining community, the second of 8 children. Lynn began singing in church at a young age. Her younger sister, Brenda Gelwebb, also developed a love for singing and later went on to perform professionally, and she is well known as Crystal Gayle. Drawing from her own personal experiences of growing up poor but happy, in 1970, Lynn released perhaps her best-known song called Coal Miner's Daughter, which quickly became a #1 hit. Teaming up with Conway Twitty, Lynn won her first Grammy Award in 1972 for the duet After the Fire Is Gone. The song was one of many successful collaborations between Lynn and Conway Twitty, among a collection that included Lead Me On, a Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, and Feelings. Performing songs that explored romance and sometimes adulterous relationships, they won the CDA Vocal Duo of the Year award for 4 consecutive years from 1972 to 1975. In 1976, Lynn published her first biography, Coal Miner's Daughter. The book became a bestseller, publicly relieving some of the ups and downs in her professional and personal life, especially her stormy relationship with her husband. In 1980, a film adapted of the book was released, starring Sissy Spacek as Loretta Lynn and Tommy Lee Jones as her husband. Spacek won an Oscar for her role, with the film itself nominated for 7 Academy Awards. Inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1988, Loretta Lynn soon began scaling back her work to care for her husband, who was suffering from heart trouble and diabetes. She did make time to work with Dolly Parton and Tammy Wynette on the 1993 album Honky Tonk Angels, and in 1995, she started a limited-run television series, Loretta Lynn and Friends, while playing a handful of tour dates. Lynn's husband died in 1996, marking the end of their 48-year marriage. Loretta Lynn was honored with a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, as well as a tribute album featuring cover versions of her songs by a range of artists, including White Stripes, Faith Hill, Kid Rock, and Sheryl Crow. In 2013, she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from then President Barack Obama. On May 4th, 2017, the 85-year-old country legend suffered a stroke at her home and was hospitalized in Nashville. The statement on Lynn's official website said she was responsive and accepted to make a full recovery, though she would postpone upcoming shows. In October of that year, Lynn made her first public appearance since the hospitalization when she inducted longtime friend Alan Jackson into the Country Music Hall of Fame. In January of 2018, it was announced that Lynn had fractured her hip in a New Year's Day fall at her home, revealing that she was doing fine. Family members were able to put a humorous spin on the situation, blaming it on her new puppy. Loretta Lynn died today, October 4th, 2022, at her home in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. She was 90 years old. She was preceded in death by her parents, many family members, to include her son Jack, Vinnie Lynn, and her daughter Betsy Sue. May the Lord welcome you home with open arms and give comfort to your family and friends. The world will miss country music legend Loretta Lynn. Hurricane Ian, many of you have seen by now, has caused some just massive damage all across the state. As someone who lived through Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Delta, I share in their pain because we're still suffering here years later. New Orleans, for instance, after Hurricane Katrina, still to this day has not rebuilt parts of that city. Florida right now is in the rescue and recovery phase from Hurricane Ian, which cut a path of destruction through the state and other southern states as it barreled through, making landfall in southwest Florida as a Category 4 hurricane. Powerful hurricane washed out bridges and piers, pushed massive boats into buildings on shore and sheared roof homes, leaving millions without power and forcing them to seek shelter in unfamiliar places. As of right now, more than 50 people have been accounted for as died. Florida has at least 47 deaths confirmed in the state, while 4 deaths were confirmed in North Carolina and 3 in Cuba when it passed over there. Death toll is expected to rise, sadly, in coming days. I told you last week that I would vet the most reliable places for donating to help those suffering loss and devastation in the wake of this hurricane. And here are my suggestions, organizations that are on the ground right now assisting, and a link to each one of them is listed in the community section of this YouTube channel for you to go to. The Red Cross, the Salvation Army, Samantha's Purse Disaster Relief, the Florida Disaster Fund, Feeding Florida Food Bank, and one that's a touching in my heart always is the Humane Society, because there are literally thousands of pets and animals that are homeless as well, looking for their families. An important consideration before donating is the following. Beware scammers who create fake charities during natural disasters, says the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, on its website. Always verify a charity's legitimacy through its official website. And if you have any doubt, check with the Better Business Bureau, Wise Giving Alliance, Charity Navigator, Charity Watch, or GuideStar, the FCC notes. Continuing on, as if the tragedy wasn't bad enough in Florida, some people in our government have decided that they want to open their mouth and say things that are just completely and utterly stupid, and they're a lie. Twitter. People on Twitter had a meltdown after Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi claimed that Floridian farmers need illegal immigrants to stay in their state and pick crops. Critics claim that Pelosi's remarks were demeaning of migrants and that she openly admitted America should welcome in a profit off of illegal immigrants. During a Friday press conference last week, Pelosi railed against Governor relocating illegal immigrants from southern states to northern ones because they need to stay and pick crops down here. The comment was clearly a dig at Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican Florida, for moving 2 planes full of illegal immigrants from his state to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. Responding to a question about the topic during a press conference, Pelosi began by admitting that there needs to be both border security and openness to migrants. She said, the fact is that we have a responsibility to secure our border. We also have a responsibility to recognize the importance of newcomers to our nation. Right now, the best thing we can do for our economy is have comprehensive immigration reform, she then added. We have a shortage of workers in our country. And you see, even in Florida, some of the farmers and the growers are saying, Why are you shipping these immigrants up north? We need them here to pick our crops down here. I would love, for one, for somebody to show me a farmer in Florida making that statement. Pelosi continued, but that doesn't mean that we don't recognize our moral responsibility as well. Twitter users blasted the House Speaker, accusing her of blatantly admitting the nation should profit off the cheap labor of illegal immigrants. Conservative journalist Ian Miles asked, immigrants, what are they good for? National Review editor Richard Lauer commented, a massive and uncontrolled wave of illegal immigration isn't a solution to anything, but this is how they think. The Federation of American Immigration Reform Twitter account wrote, for Democrats, mass immigration checks two boxes. One, more future voters, and two, cheap foreign labor. New York Post author Miranda Devine explained, apart from the fact that she can't speak properly and is nasty, it's illegal to employ illegal immigrants. It's also dangerous for a country not to make the distinction between legal and illegal migration. At least we have less than 6 weeks left of this piece of Pelosi. Hopefully she's right. Conservative radio host and podcaster Michael Berry found the admission amusing, tweeting, oh my, this is the best thing ever. Perfect. Conservative communication expert Aaron Pernine tweeted, the Speaker of the House is advocating using illegal immigrants as farm labor. Former U.S. Senate candidate Bernie Moreno tweeted, elitist Democrats think Hispanics are only good for picking their crops. Legal Hispanics will answer accordingly in November and send Nancy and a lot of other radical Democrats home. Oh, Nancy, Nancy, Nancy. And if you think it couldn't get any worse than that, drum roll, because it can. Vice President Kamala Harris is being laughed at once again. This time for a recent speech in which she described that federal Hurricane Ian relief should be based on equity and prioritize people and communities of color. Speaking at Democrat National Committee Women's Leadership Forum, Harris claimed that people of color and low-income communities are most affected by natural disasters such as Hurricane Ian. Because of this, Harris described how federal relief should be given based on equity. The vice president declared, it is our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. The vice president continued. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place, she added. And if we want people to be an equal palace, sometimes we have to take into account those discrepancies and do that work. And then the audience applauded Harris's statement. This no-merit statement by Harris caused Governor Ron DeSantis' Rapid Response Director, Christina Pushaw, to speak up, calling her claims false and assuring Americans that FEMA has been giving aid to all hurricane survivors, regardless of the color of your skin. This is one sick and twisted human being. She went on to tweet, this is false at VP. Rhetoric is causing undue panic and must be clarified. FEMA individual assistance is already available to all people in Florida impacted by the hurricane, regardless of your race or your background. The Vice President of the United States suggested that first send the money out there to take care of
the poor people in communities of color, which to her means black or Hispanic from Cuba. Madam, this hurricane didn't discriminate against anyone. It affected everyone in Florida. The entire state has been ripped apart, no matter how much money you have, no matter what kind of house you live in, no matter the color of your skin. Are poor communities sometimes the last to get assistance when it's needed? Yeah, you bet your ass they are. We saw that in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina. We saw how the Ninth Ward to this day has still not been built back. We saw it right here in Lake Charles, Louisiana after Hurricane Laura, and how the poor communities were affected drastically. But everyone is available for this assistance. It isn't going to run out because, the Democrats are printing money as we speak. There is no end to how much money they will produce to help out anyone. And it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat in office or a Republican in office. It doesn't matter. And it shouldn't matter. And the fact that it matters to her just proves my point that she is a racist bigot. Period. End of discussion. Let's talk about the border for a minute. 2 companies of Army National Guard troops will be headed to the nation's southern border for a 1-year deployment, according to Governor Chris Shunus said Monday. The governor presided over a send-off ceremony this afternoon. New Hampshire is grateful for the heroic men and women of our National Guard. They answered the call to serve during the COVID pandemic and are now answering our nation's call, deploying to the ongoing humanitarian crisis along our southern border. As these brave men and women deploy, New Hampshireans stand by our National Guard, and we wish everyone a safe and speedy return home. This is the group's first deployment. The 237th Military Police Company will also send 120 soldiers to surveillance sites along the border. These soldiers will notify U.S. Customs and Border Patrol forces to indirect the flow of people and illegal drugs, weapons, money, and sex trafficking. The unit's last deployment was in Afghanistan in 2012 and 2013. Approximately 120 soldiers from the 237th Military Police Company will monitor sites along the border. Previously, a New Hampshire Guard unit's deployment to the southwest border from October 2020 through November 2021 helped assist in apprehensions, seizure of illegal drugs, and saving of 20 migrant lives. So Godspeed to all those in the New Hampshire National Guard on your deployment to the southern border. You and your family's sacrifices make all American patriots proud. We've talked in the past about all the anti-police bullshit that comes from the left. This next story, how no one took matters into their own hands and slapped this son of a bitch upside the head, I don't know. I'm not advocating for violence, but I'll be honest with you folks. If I would have been sitting there and witnessed this, knowing this guy's background rhetoric on law enforcement, I probably would have went to jail. But I'd be out on bail before he got out of intensive care. What am I talking about? Anti-police. Austin, Texas Mayor Steve Adler appeared to fall asleep during the funeral of fallen police officer Anthony Martin yesterday. The moment was caught on camera, drawing an airline of law enforcement advocates. Austin Police Department Officer Justin Berry, who is also a member of the Texas Commission of Law Enforcement, tweeted a photo of Adler sleeping at the funeral. Berry said it was another example of Adler's contempt and utmost disrespect towards law enforcement. If you're going to defund and destroy a police department as their mayor, then attend a highly respected officer's funeral. Perhaps do not continue to disrespect that officer's family, friends, and other officers by falling asleep, Barry wrote. You have time and time again shown nothing but contempt and utmost disrespect towards the men and women of the Austin Police Department, but also our families. At Mayor Adler, Barry added in a separate tweet. After the funeral, and Adler realized he had fallen asleep and realized that people were pretty pissed off about it in the funeral that were there, that saw it happen. And of course, his phone was blown up with Twitter, showing a picture of him sleeping his ass off. He apologized for his behavior in a statement to Fox News Digital. I want to express my deepest apologies to the family of Officer Martin. Officer Martin died 10 days ago and will forever be honored as a hero. This moment should be about him and his family, including his 2 daughters, whose words today pierced my heart as a father, Adler said. It's hard to do if you're sleeping. I hold Officer Martin in the highest regards. May his memory be a blessing to his family and to the city he served. Officer Martin died in a car crash on September 23rd while driving home from work. He is survived by his parents, his wife, 3 children, and 1 granddaughter. Officer Martin originally joined the Austin Police Department in 2006 after serving in the United States Air Force for 2 decades. I have endless memories that I hold in my heart, but sadly, that's all I have now, his daughter Ashley said at the funeral. My dad was always my hero, my protector, and my inspiration. He was a fearless leader. No matter how scary the path was, I knew I could follow him. Barry told Fox News Digital that the mayor's behavior at the funeral was just disheartening. It's very disheartening to have the mayor of the city of Austin, who was one of the ones that spearheaded all the defunding of the Austin Police Department by 1/3 of our budget, who voted to take away officers' pay stipends back in 2017, with a huge financial impact on our families, to continue to go down a path that just shows nothing but the utmost disrespect and contempt. A recent released audio of Adler has him saying he eagerly hopes for a day without police. Look, to all those out there, whether you're a member of Congress, a Senate, if you're a mayor, if you're a city leader, if you're advocating for defunding law enforcement and taking away money from their families, taking away money to feed their families and take care of them, you're slicing their budget, accusing them of being racist bigots that just want to go out and shoot and kill unarmed, innocent black youth, then when an officer dies, stay the fuck away from his funeral or her funeral, because you're not wanted. And we've seen time and time again how at officers' funerals, this type of disrespect has happened, and police officers get up and turn their back on those or walk out on those that have been disrespecting members of law enforcement. Here we had a time of mourning. We have a funeral for a fallen officer. And the person who's advocating the loudest to defund the police and get rid of them and wants to see a time when there are no police attends the funeral and falls asleep. You are one disrespectful son of a bitch. And you should be thankful that I wasn't sitting there at that funeral, because it would have made the news, trust me. That's utterly ridiculous. I want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump. As you all know by now, he is under one attack after another attack. It hasn't stopped since when he announced that he was going to run for president. all these people that loved him and thought he was the coolest shit, once he started running, turned their back on him. All you can see, you can literally go look up and see pictures of like Al Sharpton smooching up to him at events, getting his photo op prior to becoming president. And everybody else out there, whether it's actors, musicians, politicians, business owners, Oprah Winfrey, they all were Donald Trump's friend until he ran for president. And then it's been one attack after another attack, all of which, by the way, is proven to be unfounded. And of course, now we have this Mar-a-Lago incident brewing right in front of us, and what a mess that's become. I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. I will say what I've said all along and many, many times, that no one is above the law, not Donald Trump, not Hillary Clinton, not Eric Holder, not Loretta Lynch. No, they're not above the law. But yet, the FBI and Justice Department only go after Republicans. Lady Justice wears a blindfold for a reason. But you wouldn't know that, would you? Former President Donald Trump's legal team has elevated its legal battle to the Supreme Court, requesting that Justice Clarence Thomas, who has jurisdiction over the 11th Circuit, vacate the stay by the court that allowed the Justice Department to continue its review of classified documents seized during the FBI's unprecedented raid of Mar-a-Lago. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon issued an injunction against the DOJ's use of the 100 document, reportedly marked as classified to be used for investigative purposes. The 11th Circuit overturned Cannon's order and prevented court-appointed Special Master Raymond Duries from reviewing those materials. The panel had limited Duries' review to only the non-classified documents seized from Mar-a-Lago, but Trump's legal team on Tuesday asked the Supreme Court to intervene. The unprecedented circumstances presented by this case as investigations of the 45th President of the United States by the administration of his political rival and successors compelled the district court to acknowledge the significant need to enhance vigilance and to order the appointment of a special master to ensure fairness, transparency, and maintenance of the public's trust, the following states. And there is no trust by the American people of the Department of Justice or the Democrats in Washington, D.C., and sadly, the FBI. That appointment order is simply not appealable or on an indecorous basis and was never before the 11th Circuit. Nonetheless, the 11th Circuit granted a stay of the special master's order, effectively compromising the integrity of the well-established policy against piecemeal appellate review and ignoring the district court's board discretion without justification. The following continues. Trump's legal team added that this unwarranted stay should be vacated and it impairs substantially the ongoing time-sensitive work of the special master. Moreover, any limit on the comprehensive and transparent review of materials seized in an extraordinary raid of a president's home erodes public confidence in our justice system. The following continues. The Justice Department declined to comment on Trump's appeal to the Supreme Court. Justice Department last week, in its 11th Circuit filing, is working to appeal Cannon's decision to appoint a special master altogether, arguing that it is unable to examine records taken from Trump's Florida home estate and may constitute as evidence of crimes. The governor is thus unable to examine or bearing classification markings, including records that may shed light on, for example, how the materials bearing classified markings were transferred to plaintiff's residence, how they were stored, and who may have access to them, DOJ officials wrote in their appeal of this request. The records not marked as classified may also constitute evidence of potential violations. Department of Justice officials also stated in the filing that it should be expedite the appeal. It's if successful, would allow the government to move quickly, resume its full investigation without restraints on its review and use of evidence seized pursuant to lawful search warrants. Trump has denied that any of the material in his possession at Mar-a-Lago were classified. At this point, Special Master Raymond Deliris is tasked with reviewing approximately 11,000 records seized by the FBI during its raid of Trump's private residency. Special Master and his team will review those records for executive privilege, attorney-client privilege, and for personal records. He also has a deadline to review the documents. It was December 16th. I'm sorry, it's been extended to December 16th. The original deadline was November 30th. He scheduled a status conference that will take place on October 6th. So, this keeps CNN relevant. It's the only thing that keeps CNN relevant, and MSNBC, because it has the far left and the Dems tuning into them. If it wouldn't be for Donald Trump in the news, I don't think they'd be in business today. I don't think they can be in business today because there's no ratings. There's none. When Nick at Night on the Children's Channel has higher ratings than CNN, what does that tell you? So it may be weeks, months, or years before we know the final outcome of everything to do with former President Donald J. Trump. But here's what I have to say to those that are behind all this. To the FBI and the Department of Justice and the Democrats up in Washington, D.C., be careful what you wish for. Be careful with your bias. Because if Republicans win back the House and Senate next month, you're fucked. Because they're going to investigate and investigate and investigate every one of you slimy, no good son of a bitches. And they're going to get to the bottom of all your absolute, utter bullshit of how you only go after Republicans and let Democrats get away with crime after crime after crime after crime. Rather, it's people like Nancy Pelosi making horrible remarks that could incite violence, or Maxine Waters making remarks that incite violence. It's a sad time in America. It's probably the saddest time I've ever experienced in my 60 years. And I talk to my elders, and I always have the same question. Have you ever seen a country this divided? Have you ever witnessed a Justice Department and an FBI that turns a blind eye to one party and goes after the other? And I get the same answer. No. No, I haven't. But here we are, continuing to go down this path. And I'd love to be able to understand it. I'd love to be able to sit down in a room with Christopher Wray, the FBI director, and just chat personally, with or without cameras rolling, or with Garland, Department of Justice, Attorney General, and just have a one-on-one chat. Because I'd ask you the questions that the news media is too chicken shit to ask you. And I'd ask you the questions that the news media is too chicken shit to ask you. I would put it out to you in black and white, which is what we need. It's what the American people are asking for. We believe in justice, but we believe that it should be treated equally and that no one is above the law. So why in the hell do you continue to allow Democrat after Democrat after Democrat to get away with all these federal crimes and do nothing about it? Even the president's own son, Hunter Biden, and the whole fucking laptop bullshit. You just don't care. And now we find out that the FBI was sending information out to Twitter and to Facebook and to different social media sites, telling them that the whole Hunter laptop thing was not true. And if somebody posts something about it, delete their comments, delete their post. The Democrats have weaponized our Justice Department and our FBI. And they want to know why we, the American people, the patriots of this country, are looking at this going, what are we doing? Why are you doing this? So, Director Wray and Garland, I can't wait to see your asses in front of Congress if Republicans win back the House and Senate. Pack your shit, look for another job, because they're going to impeach you. You're gone. Only because, not whether or not Trump's innocent or guilty. Just take that completely out of the fucking equation. Forget about that. The simple fact that you time and time again allow Democrats to get away with crimes, and for crimes that Republicans commit, you go try and nail them to a wall. That is unacceptable. That is not the way our system is set up. Everyone, regardless of their political party, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of what's in their bank account, should be treated equally under our laws in America. No one should be given a free pass like you have given these Democrats over and over and over again. And I could sit here and list these names off for the next fucking 45 minutes. It's insane. And we watched it. We watched it unfold right in front of our own eyes. On C-SPAN, for crying out loud. Investigation after investigation, lies after lies. And y'all don't seem to give a shit if they have a D after their name for the Democrat Party. And that has to stop. That's the only way you're going to get back the confidence of the American people. It's the only way. I love my brothers and sisters in blue. I served honorably in law enforcement as well as the military. And it pains me to talk so bad about the FBI and the Department of Justice. And it's not the everyday man and woman out there that's doing the job. They're just doing what their leaders tell them to do. And their leaders, as far as I'm concerned, for allowing one party to get away with federal crimes and the other not, that's criminal. That is against the law. The laws that you swore to uphold, but yet you don't, if they have a D after their name. And that has to change. And if we win back the House and the Senate next month, you can bet your ass it will change. I've been talking to a lot of Republican members of Congress, to include Republican senators, some that are willing to go on record and talk about it, and others that won't. But I can tell you what the consensus is. The Democrats have been doing these dog and pony shows against Republicans, against Trump, over and over and over again for the past 4, 5, 6 years. And now we're going to turn the tables and we're going to clean the fucking swamp. And I, for one, am going to hold their feet to the fire. I, for one, will be screaming my loudest if Democrats and Republicans win back the House and the Senate, because that's when the real fight starts. That's when we, as conservatives and Republicans, as concerned American citizens, have to speak up on social media, have to speak up in public, have to speak up respectfully that the Republicans do the right thing this time. Because it wasn't too long ago, my friends, when Republicans had the House and the Senate in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And what did they do? The same crisis has been going on for the past 5 years, 15 years, 30 years. It's still there. It's still happening. And no one's being held accountable for it. There was a story I was going to do tonight, and I was too late seeing the story when it came across my phone, but I will talk about it soon. And it's another bombshell where this time the IRS had agents in Las Vegas doing some shady and illegal shit. And more to come on that. I'm sure if you would like to go check it out, it's all over at least Fox News right now, and it will be over everybody else because I'm sure they're going to cover it. I can't imagine CNN not covering illegal activity by the IRS, but then again, who knows? So the bottom line here is that we're living in a time of absolute horror, really. In our own country, we have a guy that's supposed to be the president that sadly, I don't even think he knows he's the president because he's just walking around babbling and saying shit that's, just a few days ago, he said he was raised by a Puerto Rican family. What the fuck are you talking about? Things like that just let you know that the man's not mentally there. He's not mentally capable of running this country. I don't know what to do because Kamala Harris sure as hell ain't. The laughing hyena, she's just as out there as he is. He finishes the speech and he turns around and he tries to shake hands with invisible people that aren't there. He's calling out a congresswoman's name in the audience going, where is she? Where's, somebody that's dead. So I've got no doubt that whoever's in charge of this clusterfuck happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue they've taken the nuclear football away from the man. He doesn't have the ability to ever be a part of that. At the same time, we have Russia literally tonight moving nuclear weapons around. Now, it may be just for our satellites to pick up and a little saber rattling, but they're doing things that they haven't done since the Cold War. One of their doomsday submarines that supposedly has this type of nuclear device on it that can cause a tsunami that's, 1,000 feet high or some shit and take out a complete coastal city. We can't find. It's went out to sea where it's typically been docked or in this one area. So there's shit going on. North Korea keeps trying to build nuclear weapons, and now they just yesterday launched a fucking missile over Japan, right over the country, into the water on the other side. We got Iran saying if they get their nuclear program up and running, which they're trying to do, they're going to take and wipe Israel off the face of the earth. It's one issue after another. And who's in charge? Who is in charge of our country, of our safety? I can tell you who's not in charge. Biden and Kamala Harris, they're not in charge of shit. Now, Kamala Harris at the DMZ in North Korea thanked the alliance that we have with North Korea. Of course, it was she just fucked up and read something off the teleprompter wrong or whatever, because we don't have an alliance with North Korea. But it's shit like that that's happening. It used to be every few weeks. Then it became weekly. Now it's like every other day between Biden or Harris, something is being said that makes you go, what the fuck did I just hear? How is this possible? One side of it, it's funny. I mean, I caught something that came across my phone last night when me and my wife got in bed to go to sleep, and I started laughing. It was just, I don't remember what the hell it was off the top of my head right now, but it was just something that Biden was accused of saying. I was like, oh, it was the Puerto Rican thing. They were raised by a Puerto Rican family. And I was like, and my wife's like, what are you laughing at? And I'm like, look what Biden just said. She's like, what the hell? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. What I do know is that the status of America to the other countries of the world is pretty sad right now. They're looking at us like, wow, we're on our own, especially Israel. They've got to be going, holy crap, we got members in the United States Congress and Senate that hate us and want us to be wiped off the map, want Iran to do it. Alihan Omar and Rashid Tlaib saying horrible shit about Israel. And Nancy Pelosi let them do it. Anyhow, it is sad, the condition we're in right now. But the good thing is we have elections. And although we're going through pain right now, whether it's physically or mentally, we will overcome this. There will come a time when Republicans are back in charge. And when that happens, Democrats, well, you're going to be thinking about just how fucked up you were when you had everything. And you're going to be thinking twice about what you've done to the American people, what you've done to our members of law enforcement, what you've done to our military, what you've done to our angel families, what you've done to our economy and our country as a whole. That day is coming. I know it is. I guarantee you it is. I swear on my life, that day will get here when Republicans are back in charge. And let it be one hell of a roller coaster ride. Because I want to see some of these nasty, no good, un-American pieces of shit in the Democrat Party and some in the Republican Party be put out of office, and even some go to jail for their crimes. Anyhow, you had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me. For that, I am forever grateful. Thank you. If you haven't already done so, please go to DouglasDucote.com. Check out the website. Also in the description of this show, once it becomes a regular video, and all my videos, is where you can find me on the different social media platforms. Please go to the community section of this channel where you can see the locations. The links are there for donating to help in the relief of what's happened down in Florida. And please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each of you. Thank you, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. Good night.